Okay, in this segment we're going to talk about our feeder chain, feeder wear. What we look for on the feeder chain wear is flat spots on the bottom of the chain links, grooves in our drum. We also want to look for bent slats. A lot of times we can rotate the chain around where we take a flashlight and shine up in there and look for bent slats. Also, another wear item in the front here is our poly wear strip. It's down in the bottom, especially on the larger heads. That becomes a wear issue, can make the faceplate bind. And the other thing we look at is a bearing on the end of the drum. Make sure bearing's not getting loose and rubbing the inside of the drum. Another item that we need to look at on the feeder chain is if you have repeated chain breakage, there are 2 slip clutches in the system. And we have had instances of slip clutches locking up, and we can check those. So talk to your service people in the service department, and we can make arrangements to check the slip clutches to see if that's where the chain breakage problem is coming from. And next we're going to talk about feeder face angle. And at this point we have our feeder face angle adjustment for running crops on the ground like soybeans. We'll roll it all the way back with the draper head, especially if there's rocky conditions. Down corn might be an example where we'd roll it forward to get a little better angle on our corn head, or roll it back at whatever crop conditions dictate. All right, on this side we're going to talk about our chain tension adjustment, which is this spring right here on the side. It too tight, we have our excessive chain noise, and chain breakage too loose, it can jump time or excessive beating on the bottom of the feeder house. All right, and at this point I'm going to hand it off to Craig, and he's going to talk about the items on the other side of the feeder house.
We're going to start here at the front left side of the feeder. I want to talk about sprocket wear. A good way to gauge your sprocket wear is to get a hold of your feeder chain and see if you have any dead slack up and down. The dead slack is telling us that we have slack in our feeder drive on the rear of the feeder. It's just a good rule of thumb. I also want to talk about the stripper that is located back on the feeder drive sprocket. This is a stripper. There are 4 of them located on the back of the feeder. Our feeder sprocket tooth comes up in the gap here, and if we don't keep this gap closed up, trash will wrap around our feeder sprocket and decrease chain life. The electrical connection is an important part of our operation. Sometimes we tend to leave those connected to the header and backaway and damage connectors. Rather than patch this harness, sometimes it's cheaper just to buy the harness and replace it. The feeder multi-point connection, that's where we connect to our headers. We need to keep this area clean, as if we do not, we ingest trash into the couplers and promote hydraulic leaks. We have our header drive gearbox and our feeder drive gearbox. It is very important to keep our oils changed yearly in these. The feeder drive gearbox here at the rear has a slip clutch inside of it, and as the feeder clutch slips, we put metal into the oil, so we need to make sure we change our oil regularly. Gary talked about feeder chain tension on the other side of the feeder. There's also a tensioner on this side of the feeder that we must adjust the same way. As far as driveline maintenance, we need to remove this shield yearly. When we remove this shield, what we're looking for is we want to look at our U-joints on both ends of the shaft and make sure they're okay. As we move to the rear machine, we want to talk about the rock trap. We open the rock trap door to clear the debris. If the debris is clear, the rock trap will do its job. Another daily check we need to make, we need to look in this area here. The lower feeder seal can give up and cause grain leakage.